Hello, grade 11. Welcome to week 8 in Earth and Life Science. Again, I'm your teacher for today, Mrs. Princess G. Kaleha. And for today's lesson, we have the evolutionary relationship. In the previous lesson, you have learned about how organisms change over time. So, in this new lesson, it will guide you about classification of organisms based on evolutionary relationships. How do we classify organisms and evolutionary relationships in the present time? Scientists can build trees to show evolutionary relationships of a species as a representation of classifying organisms based on evolutionary relationships, just like you. You can build a family tree to show the relationships of your ancestors and their descendants. So, learning competency describe how the present system of classification of organisms is based on evolutionary relationships. To start this lesson, I want to play a game. This game is called Pick the Odd One Out. And I'm going to show you 3 different species, and I want you to look at their physical appearances, characteristics, and the way to work out the one out. Work out the one out. So pick the odd one. So as you can see, we have the gorilla, a lemon tree, and human. So which of these 3 pictures does not belong to the group? Okay, it is the lemon tree in the sense that as you can see, we have here the gorilla and the humans are of the same structure or physical appearance rather than that of the lemon tree, because lemon tree is a tree, and we have here the gorilla and the humans are both mammals. Okay, so they are of the same physical appearance. Next, let's have this one. I find we have here a tree, lemon tree, and again human. Okay, human are not belong to the, or humans are not belong to the group, so you remain of the 2 trees. Next, let's have again a tree, horse, and human. Very good. We remove the tree. The sense that we have here horse and human. So physical appearance. The horse has eyes, feet, and other characteristics, which is they have nearly physical appearance rather than that of the tree. Okay, why? Because both of these are animals, and the one that out is a tree. So another one, let's have swampfish, horse, and a tree. Okay, very good. So we remove the tree again. Both of these are animals, and you can see same features such as again eyes. They are both animals. Okay, next let's have again fish, horse, and shark. Okay, so we will remove the horse in the sense that shark and fish are both live in the water. Okay, so that's it. So what's give an organism characteristics based on appearance for that matter? Well, the characteristics or appearance of an organism, as we know, come from the proteins that they contain. And the proteins are produced in the cells of these organisms and are coded for by the genes. And the genes are found in the DNA. So, organisms look similar or had similarities, characteristics. They have similar DNA, and that is the key to determining evolutionary relationship. So we have here a modern classification is based on evolutionary relationships. We have here cladistics is a classification based on common ancestry. When we say ancestry, it is your great grandparent. You can say that it is your ancestry. All organisms back in time, we are talking about hundreds of millions of years. So that's it. The goal of cladistics is to try to represent that, try to classify it. Phylogeny is the evolutionary history for a group of species. The evidence from living species, fossil record, and molecular data. So, shown with branching tree diagram. So, this one, we represent this by using this phylogenetic tree. Looks like a tree with branches. So, these are the branches. Looking at your DNA code and fossil record. Cladistic is common method to make evolutionary trees. Common method, is again referring to this idea that a scientist living in Houston would use this method to make an evolutionary tree, which most a scientist in China would use it too. This idea that we know is common method, so that all scientists that are working all around the world is saying the same thing. We can't imagine if concluded or if they concluded different method will be used by these scientists all around the world. The other one may think it is okay, but the others are not, because others may not understand the method that the others use. So for these cladistics, it is useful in the sense that they made a constant method or common method to use for them to understand clearly each other works. Classification based on common ancestry. Species placed in order that they descended from common ancestors. So, in other words, it goes forward in time. Where back to the left goes order in time, to the right, it is the more recent. We also have here a cladogram. A cladogram is an evolutionary tree made using cladistics. Cladogram is a branching tree. So, a clade is a group of species that shares a common ancestor. So, clade is referring to these parts, okay? Each species in a clade shares some traits with the ancestor. Next, each species in a clade has traits that have changed. So, again, clade is referring to these plants. Okay, for example, these two plants, they share common ancestors right here. Okay, so let's here to record gap time should be here in this portion. Gaya ng sinabi natin kanina, as you go to the left, it is the most recent, and to the right, it is the older time. Okay, so meaning in this illustration, the ancestor of these four plants are this one. Okay, this. And clade shares a common ancestor. So, this part, this portion, all of these plants share common ancestor which is in this clade. Next, this portion has a common ancestor which is in this part. The ancestor of this one is this one. This one is this one. So that's it. That is a cladogram. And there is an evolutionary changes as time goes by. So that is cladogram. We also have this one. Derived characters are traits shared in different degrees by clade members. So, basis of arranging species in cladogram, more closely related species share more derived characters and represented on cladogram as hash mark. So, again, in this part, we have here the time and it goes by in this part. So, all of this, we have here the ancestor which has a 4 limbs with digits. So, we call this one as the tetrapod clade. Okay? We also have the amniota clade. Embryo protected or protected by amniotic fluid. So, amniotic clade. We also have the reptilia clade, wherein skulls opening behind the eye. So, reptilia clade. So, you can see the turtles. Also have the diapsida clade, opening in the side of the skull. So, we have the lizards and snakes. Next, we also have the Archosauria clade. Skull opening in front of the eye and in the jaw or feathers, tooth-like beak. So we have the crocodiles and others. So these are the different clades. Okay, tetrapod podoclade, amniota clade, reptilia clade, diapsida clade, and Archosauria clade. So you can see their differences. Nodes. Nodes represent the most recent common ancestor of a clade. Clades can be identified by snipping a branch under a node. So we have their nodes. We also have the molecular evidence reveals species relatedness. Molecular data may confirm classification based on physical similarities. Molecular data may lead scientists to propose a new classification. So we have this one before and after. So physical similarities may or may not reflect DNA. May or may not reflect how these organisms are related to each other where you compare their DNA sequences. Because the DNA sequences, the molecular data is ultimately could be the most accurate determiner of evolution. Whereas physical properties or similarities may or may not be the same to the DNA due to molecular differences. But DNA is usually given the last word for scientists because it is ultimately be the most accurate determiner of evolution. So, this before is showing a cladogram. We're showing the different types of worms based on what they look like. So, this part, flatworms, roundworms, mollusks, segmented worms, and arthropods. And with this after, which showing we are actually looking to an account of the DNA, which is the molecular data, what this cladogram looks like. And you can see if if it's not completely different necessarily, but it did changes specifically the roundworms, mollusks, segmented worms, but it's not as if like these roundworms didn't get replaced by elephants or something ridiculous. They still are all somewhere related, but the molecular data, the DNA bases that these worms share were slightly different. So it kind of changed up how you would make this cladogram code word box. DNA is kind of the end all be all when it comes to making these cladograms. Doesn't matter if you think that the roundworm in the flatworm, men know they just look alike and they should be in the same clade. So, yan yung sinabi na flatworm and roundworm. But in this part, we have flatworm and molas. Okay, so this is based according on their DNA. So, simply, when we say cladogram, it is the evolutionary tree made using cladistics, okay? Wherein each species in a clade shares some traits with the ancestors. They has traits that have changed. So, that's it. Hope you learn well. God bless you.